The Lakers are salivating over this. We have a huge update surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers and Rob Pelinka's plans this offseason. And this one in particular is not only extremely interesting, but this new report has big implications going forward. To break down exactly what that is and discuss who this player is, as well as discuss some other updates, including a surprising update surrounding Gosse and Reeves. So a ton to go over today, folks. Before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot to go over today, and we're going to be talking about a player that has been on fans' radars for a while, has been on the Lakers' radar for a while behind the scenes, and a bunch of different reports. And a brand new report has dropped just today and into last night, of course, surrounding one particular center, and that center is none other but Steven Adams. And I've been talking about him on the channel a lot specifically as a backup center that would be a perfect fit if they go out and get their 1A center, of course. You can see this here from Basketball Forever. Steven Adams is an unrestricted free agent this summer, and there's a possibility he could be lured away from a playoff team, lured away by a playoff team like the Lakers, where he would be a natural fit per The Athletic. So this one is, it is an interesting one because Steven Adams at this point in his career is definitely not the player he once was, but he would be a fantastic fit on this Lakers team. He is a player type, I guess, an archetype that the players, everyone likes to play with a guy like Steven Adams, but also the Lakers in particular, especially Rob Pelinka, they need someone like Steven Adams. They saw last year against the Timberwolves, they just don't have enough physicality at the center position. And obviously Steven Adams, we have some other reports to go over here. Steven Adams is not going to be the starting center for this team, and quite frankly, he's not going to be playing even 15, 20 minutes a game. But what he can do is, like we'll dive into in a minute here, provide backup center minutes off the bench and kind of complement whoever they do get at the starting center position this offseason. For example, of course, we're talking about Nic Claxton a lot on the channel. If you get a guy like Nic Claxton, and we'll dive into it later in this video more with these new reports, it would make a lot more sense to go out and get a guy like Steven Adams, especially on the veteran minimum. And here's the full report per The Athletic. According to Kelly Iko of The Athletic, the Rockets view retaining Adams as a top priority and will be working with him to keep him in Houston. We have another report in a minute here. And he basically goes on to say the 31-year-old's career revival this season, recovering from a knee injury and becoming a critical part of Ime Udoka's late season rotation. We saw in the playoffs he was critical there, is the reason they've been hammering out his future is one of their top priorities. So there is going to be a lot of competition here for the Los Angeles Lakers, and of course the Rockets want to get him because you can see here he has two-way production, his elite offensive rebounding. The possibilities of Adams being lured away by a playoff team exist. Adams, who earns $12.6 million last season, will be a natural fit for teams like San Antonio, New York, Indiana, and the Lakers and Clippers. But the Rockets are operating under the assumption that the Adams wants to return, not to the Lakers, to the Rockets, and will continue to speak with his representation about a possible extension, team sources say. So the Lakers are linked here along with a couple of other teams, and among those teams, all of them are competitive. Indiana's up in the finals right now. New York, a very solid team. San Antonio, of course, a very solid team as well. And there's a reason that Adams is linked to winning teams. It's because he's ultimately a winning player. Fantastic offensive rebounder, fantastic screener, fantastic defender at times, positional defender. And we know reports have come out here that the Lakers are expected to be extremely aggressive this offseason. You can see this here. The Lakers are expected to be extremely aggressive this offseason and making all the necessary moves to turn the roster into a good one. And Steven Adams perhaps will be a part of that. And of course, he said perhaps this will be one of the moves that, and there's a lot of fans, you can see this here even. My Steven Adams, the Lakers agenda I've been pushing for the last 5 years is finally close to happening. There's been a lot of Lakers fans that are excited about hearing the report about Steven Adams joining the team, simply because of the fact that he not only opens up the door to being able to be, because if you go and get a guy like Nic Claxton or someone of that similar stature, you're going to need someone off the bench to be able to throw just brute. And we thought Alex Len was going to be that last year, but he obviously wasn't. But against big men like even Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, even just some of the stronger guys, having a backup center off the bench that is more, less skilled offensively, but is more just a body to throw out there, a tall, strong body. That's what the Lakers ultimately need at this point. That's exactly what Steven Adams is. And I've been talking about on the channel a lot about how the team needs a well-rounded offseason. They need a guy like Steven Adams, but they also need a starting caliber center, whether that be, rumblings about Daniel Gafford, rumblings about Nic Claxton, all these different guys. If they go out and get one of those two, and then you get Steven Adams, your center position is perfectly fine. Then you have a good elite backup center for what he does, only 31 years old, and a very good starting center. Those are the two positions you need. And then, of course, you can start to look at some of the other, wings and things like that, Andrew Wiggins and those types. But you need two centers anyway, because their center right now is, Dorian Finney-Smith on the depth chart, so it's not good. And again, could they make a bid? Yes. How much would he cost? That's the biggest question, because he's coming off of a contract where he was making $12.6 million a year or something like that. And of course, he didn't have a great season stat-wise last year for the Houston Rockets. You can see here, he only averaged 3 points a game and 3 rebounds, but he was dealing with, I believe it was a knee injury. But again, that's why he was signed to the big contract there in Memphis and all these different things, because he averaged, he's very good when healthy. His last full healthy season, I guess last year was his healthiest in a while, but I guess it was Memphis in 2021. He averaged 7 points a game. Whether he's going to get the veteran minimum is the biggest question mark for this move, because it is a steal if they're able to get him to be a backup big man on the league minimum. But if they go out and they get him for, if they have to sign him for like a $5 million contract or something like that, I still think it'd be good, asset management. But at the same time, he does have the downside. I mean, in the regular season, he wasn't very good. And the only reason he really took a step forward because he was finally getting healthy for the Lakers in the play, or not for the Lakers, for the Houston Rockets in the playoffs. So then, of course, as we've seen in previous years with the way that players perform in the playoffs, they'll get paydays accordingly. So if anything, he probably rose his price a little bit. But I think the consensus among fans is that, he's well known as one of the best rebounders, most physical players in the league. We know that. And I think Lakers fans would be open to the idea just because they need a DNA change a little bit. We saw last year they weren't able to get it done with their lackluster center depth. Of course, they tried to trade for Mark Williams, Jackson Hayes, who's probably, they're working on, I think, trying to get him to return, but I don't think Jackson Hayes is ultimately going to return, which then opens up. When the Lakers had AD, of course, Jackson Hayes was the backup center, and he was a fine backup center, but Adams would be a better backup center, just in every single way, besides, I guess, being a lob threat. But you're not bringing in Steven Adams to be an offensive lob threat with Luka. You're bringing him in to complement whoever you get as your starting center. You see here, while he isn't a big stats person, Adams is a force in the offensive glass, and perhaps one of the best screen setters in the NBA, which will be helpful for Luka Doncic, for LeBron James, for Austin Reaves. So it is very, very interesting. But again, it does make sense for Houston to re-sign him. Rockets fans, I assume, would want him back. But at the same time, we all know, maybe the Rockets go out and they make a trade for Giannis or a trade for KD, and then things completely change on that front, and they're trying to change the structure of their team. Though I don't think they're going to trade for KD, maybe Giannis. It makes things very interesting there. So let me know down below what your thoughts are. Do you think that the Lakers should be one of those teams that pursues him? We know, according to The Athletic, they are. But also, the Rockets still seem like the most likely destination at this point. However, crazier things have happened, and I do think that it would be a perfect fit for this team, especially given the fact that just his skill set, I've been talking about it a lot, fits perfect alongside the most notable Laker target, which is Nick Claxton. They've been linked to him a bunch, especially with Jackson Hayes probably leaving and the backup center spot being open. But one other final thing before I wrap up here, I just kind of want to briefly touch on. You see this tweet. It was about Austin Reeves, and was thinking back to the game in the season where Austin Reeves performed with no Luka, no LeBron, no problem. And Clutch came out and said, these kind of games from Austin Reeves give me a glimpse of hope that he might have another half step next year. I'm not sure about a full step like he took this year, but a half step is in the books. If he takes a half step, he could be considered for an all-star spot. Now, there's been a lot of rumblings about Austin Reeves getting traded, all these different things. Whether or not that happens is still up in the air. I ultimately think they want to extend him. They want to keep him on the team, but at the same time, if a good trade opens up, then they will be willing to make that move, because Luka Doncic is the future of this team. However, seeing how he's going to play under a full year with Luka Doncic is going to be the biggest thing going forward, because again, when Luka Doncic joined, they didn't have much time left in the season. The fit was awkward at times because, you had 3 ball handlers on the floor with LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves. And of course, LeBron doesn't need the ball in his hand necessarily, but he kind of does at this point of his career. So with Austin Reeves going in, he was playing off ball again, which is something he did for the majority of his career, but he was finally starting to find his footing on ball. So if they can figure out how to play together in the offseason, have a full offseason of training with LeBron and Luka, I do ultimately think they're going to be good on that front. They still need a defender, but I just want to ask you guys, do you think Austin Reeves is going to take another step forward, or do you think he's going to kind of hover and stagnate now that they have a bunch of offensive weapons on the team? But let me know down below your thoughts on that, of course, as well as the report for Steven Adams. See you guys later.